Welcome to the Jacob Pearman Show. My name is Jacob Pearman. I will be talking about college football, NFL, and a little bit about my faith as well. Today, we'll start off with a couple things. I'll start with introducing my favorite sports. I love the Colts, Notre Dame football, IU football, all specifically. This podcast will be mainly about me mentioning stuff about everything about NFL, college football, what's going on a little bit of this and that, and talk a little bit about a little bit of my faith as well. So, first off, I would love to give a brief moment to talk about what happened yesterday. A For Charlie Kirk's funeral was yesterday. Knew a little bit about him. I grew up knowing about him through my grandmother. She introduced me to him when I listened to the Rush Limbaugh show. I heard him for the first time. This dude was amazing human being, a good Christian, and everything that happened yesterday with his funeral was very much a little touching for me. I got to watch a little bit of that, and it's very hard for me to still see what happened and understand that at death is a little bit of how I take a Christian to die is really hard being a martyr. So next, let's talk about what happened Saturday. Let's talk college football now. Let's get into that. Let me roll into some of that. Some good games that happened on Saturday, especially noon. One of the games that happened mainly was Clemson versus Syracuse. That was 34-21 Syracuse. Utah versus Texas Tech, 34-10. Texas Tech won. Then you had Wisconsin, Maryland, 27-10. Maryland won that game. And then Arkansas, Memphis, 32-31. Memphis won that game. Let's start off with the first one, Clemson versus Syracuse. Very good game aimed to start off with for Syracuse. Syracuse was firing on all cylinders. Clemson didn't have any way to stop them. And it became abundantly so when Clemson just couldn't get down the field. And you could tell by watching the game too, like these guys did not really care about playing football. They really had a tough time trying to get the ball down the field, trying to remember what the plays were, trying to even score. It was like 28 to like 7, I think, at one point. It was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if Clemson's even gonna have a chance to come back in this game. It was horrible for that team, and it just kept getting worse. And then they finally scored to the end after a delay. Most of the games had rain delays on Saturday, which was very interesting. And Clemson lost and has really knocked them out of even, I think, doing really anything the rest of the year. I mean, they might have a couple wins, but right now they're sitting at 1-3, and they were supposed to be a college football playoff team. And it's like, what happened over there? And I think Dabo as well, their head coach, he's in a hot seat. And people are like, he's in a hot seat? Yeah. This is the first time in 8 years that he's not done well. It's insane to think that he could be fired at the end of the year. And some of the looks and cameras that they showed at the end of the game, the dude looked like, I'm going to get fired if I don't win another game. And that might happen for him. He might get fired because they expect really good out of that team for Clemson. Clemson's won the ACC championship the past 8 years. They have been the predominant best ACC school the past 8 years. Now, do I think he'll get fired right away? Probably not, but it's very much in the talks of him getting fired. Now, the next game was I watched Utah versus Texas Tech. That game was really good at the beginning of the game. That was a good defensive matchup. Utah would had a fumble and an interception in the first half, and then Texas Tech had two interceptions. Neither team really scored off that for a while, and then because it was like 7-0 for most of the first quarter and second quarter, then it was 10-3 at half, and then Texas Tech the second half literally just steamrolled Utah into 34-10. And I was like, are you serious? This looked like it was going to be a prime good noon game, and it turned into 34-10, which I don't think I was expecting that. I was expecting Texas Tech, Utah, game-winning field goal, game-winning drive, maybe overtime, turning 34-10 Texas Tech. I was like, what is going on? I did not expect that. Third game that happened as well, Maryland, Wisconsin. Maryland won that 27-10 very easily. Maryland turned the ball over at one point, and I thought, oh, Wisconsin might come back. They didn't really. They've done well, but not to the standard I think that they should be this year. And it's very concerning on that. Then the last game was Arkansas, Memphis. That game looked like Arkansas should have won it. They were up 28 to, I believe, 14 at halftime, 17, somewhere in that nature. And then Memphis at second half only allowed Arkansas to score 3 points and outscored them pretty much to win it 32-31. I was like, are you kidding me? Memphis came back and won this game. They were controlling it for most of the first two quarters, and then Arkansas put up 28, and it was 28, 16, 17, somewhere in that range. And then all of a sudden, 32-31 is the final score. I was very shocked because Arkansas looked like a really good team this year. They could still be a good team, but one loss can sometimes carry into the next week or it cannot. It just depends on college football. College football has so many things that can happen. It can go from one thing to the other, and you never know how it's going to go. Now, let's talk about the 3:30 slate because that was an interesting amount of games that happened. Here's a couple of them. One was North Carolina UCF. UCF killed North Carolina 34-9. Bill Belichick's not working out there whatsoever in North Carolina. He might not make it to next year unless they really want to keep him. I don't know if he'll make it next year because I don't even think they've won a game either. I think they're like 0-3. That's very 0-4, right? 0-3? No, it'll be 0, yeah, 0-4. Or they've played since week one, and I don't think they've won a single game yet. Purdue, Notre Dame. Wow, what a game. I really thought Purdue might have a chance to win it. And then Notre Dame had that kickoff return in the second quarter, and I was like, never mind. Notre Dame's going to win it. They won that game 56-30. Notre Dame pretty much still bounce back win after going 0-2. They should be 2-1, maybe possibly 3-0. Young quarterback, defense is not that well. They need to let some players develop a little more or mix and match some more stuff because they have a solid offense. Defense, on the otherwise, needs to step up really badly. The next game after that, that one was a doozy. Michigan, Nebraska. Wow. That was a team that I thought could totally go one way or the other going to the fourth because it was close. It was close all that game. 30-27 was the final score in Michigan. If it wasn't for Michigan kicking that field goal, they probably would have lost it because Nebraska had got the ball back and might have been able to go down and win. But it didn't turn into that. Michigan bled the clock for most of that fourth quarter, was able to kick the field goal, go up 30-20. They had a 10-point lead. Nebraska scores again late in the fourth, got the ball back after a turnover, or after a punt, is more what I should say, and then did nothing with it. They couldn't go down and score. Very much interesting in game. The last one from that 3:30 slot that I want to talk about is Auburn, Oklahoma, where there's a controversy play that happened. Now, do I think it was a bad play? No, it's a trick play. And what I'm talking about is it's 3-3 somewhere in the second quarter or late first quarter, somewhere in that, not in my knowledge. And Oklahoma has a wide receiver going to the sideline. They're probably about the 25-ish yard line. He's coming to the sideline, acting like he's going to come off. Nobody from Auburn's paying attention. They think that dude's coming off. Someone else substituting. Nobody's down there. Snap the ball. Dude's wide open for a touchdown. It's a trick play, but the dude was acting like he was going off. He made the motion that he was going off. It should have been unsportsmanlike penalty with the SC put out. And that touchdown alone really, I would say, kind of would cost Auburn the game, but as well, it's like somebody should at least check down there to see if he was out of bounds or inbounds. Because if he was inbounds, somebody should have gone down there and watched him. And that really changed how that game ended because 24-17 Oklahoma. And it was very much a close game. I think Oklahoma won it on a touchdown late in the fourth. It was crazy how that game ended. Yeah, that Notre Dame game as well was very interesting to me because they won 56-30. They let Purdue score 30 points, but man, I couldn't believe how well they bounced back. Purdue's not that well of a football team this year. They've done pretty well the first few weeks against some decent teams. Notre Dame should have, honestly, I think not allowed them to score, but like I said, their defense not that good this year. Offense is decent, defense not that well. And that's mainly because new defense coordinator, a lot of younger guys, lost a lot on that defensive core from last year. Can they bounce back and maybe get a few more wins? Maybe. They got Arkansas next week. that might be a test to see if they can bounce back. And we'll see if that happens. Now let's talk into the night game slate that happened Saturday night. Very good games if you watch them. Illinois versus IU. Man, did IU absolutely thwomp Illinois 63 to 10. And I said, "Are you kidding me? I'm at a wedding watching this. I'm with cousins and family. They're all IU fans. We're all IU fans. We're watching and we're like, are you kidding me? We weren't expecting this. We were close. We were expecting a close game. It was touchdown after touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. And we were like, this is not how this game should have gone. This should have been close game, maybe a game-winning field goal, game-winning touchdown in the last minute. Nah, 63 to 10. Oldmeyer got sacked like 4 or 5 times that whole game. And I was like, this defense looks amazing. This offense looks amazing. Could they be a college football playoff team? I think so. If they don't lose if they don't lose more than maybe one game, they could be a college football playoff team. Don't know if that's going to happen. They still have some work to do, but they could be a really good team. And I want to talk about too their quarterback, Mendoza. His stats over the past 2 games. We'll talk about that. So the past 2 weeks, he's 40 of 43 in passing attempts. That in total is about a 93 completion percentage through the past 2 weeks. Amazing. That's amazing. I've never seen a quarterback go back to back weeks and only miss 3 total passes. 1 versus Indiana State and only 2 versus Illinois. He has a total of 537 passing yards total through 2 weeks. Amazing. Amazing stats as well. 11 combined touchdowns. He's had 5 passing touchdowns this week and 5 passing touchdowns last week and a rushing touchdown versus Indiana State, which is unbelievable. Then, versus Indiana State, he set a program record of a 95% completion percentage that's never happened in IU history. I don't think that's really happened in a lot of programs where you have a 95% completion percentage and win a game, even if it's the first trash school. That was an insane thing. I wanted to talk about that. Now let's get into another game. This game, I watched the end of it. Baylor versus Arizona State. Both of those teams were going shot for shot towards the end of the game. At one point, it was 24-16. Baylor goes down the field, scores it, gets a touchdown, ties it up. Arizona State has the ball to end the game. They go down, kick the game winner, and they win it. Very much, it was a body blow to body blow game. Next game I'll talk about is Wyoming, Colorado. This is Colorado's back game to get back into it. They haven't done really anything since Georgia Tech. They've had problems with trying to figure out who's going to be our starting quarterback. It started with Caden Salter. Salter started game 1 and game 2. Then they were like, we'll throw Julian Lewis in. He did all right in game 2. Then they threw their third string quarterback in. I think his name is Staub or something like that. And they're like, oh, this kid's been around since Shador was here. We'll start him for game 3. Didn't go too well. They only scored 16 points versus, I believe, it was Utah last week. Did not go too well. This week, they went back to Salter. He started game 4 and won it. Now they are 1-3 and doing really well. They won that game 37-20. Very much a bounce back win for sure. All right. We'll talk about the major game that was supposed to be decent, the Florida-Miami game. Did not go as I think a lot of people expected because for the most of the game, it was 13-7. And that was because Miami had only scored 13 points at halftime. And then it wasn't until probably about the 4th quarter when they were really starting to score. They went up and scored a couple times and ended the game 26-7. I really thought Florida might have had a chance because it was 13-7. I was like, oh, maybe they might go down and score. Nope. Lagway and that offense could not get down the field at all to score after scoring 7 points. They were looking very abysmal. They did not look good. And maybe that's coaching. I think it is coaching because you lost to University of Florida. They should have won that game. Then they lost to LSU the previous week. And they could have won that game too if Lagway didn't throw 5 interceptions. They might have come back and won that game because it was like 20-10 was the final score. And I was like, they only lost by 10 mainly because of interceptions, but LSU couldn't do anything with those picks. That really killed the team. And this week as well, very much killed that offense and that defense. Miami gets that dub. Very good dub for Miami. Emmy. And let's talk about the last game of that night slate, which was a very late game if you watched it. Michigan State, USC. Very good game to start off with. USC scored, Michigan State would score. USC would pretty much control the game, but it felt like it was a close game. But USC got the game kind of a little bit out of hand at the end and won it. They only won by 14. Final score was 45-31. Could have They could have came back and won it. Didn't happen. Maybe that's something they can talk about out next week on Michigan State on how to possibly bounce back after that loss. Michigan State has a pretty good team. I was very shocked in that game in Michigan State's offense and defense. They didn't look too well the previous year. This year, they look better. They act better, and they're much more, I would say, firm in how they play the game. Lastly, no, that was the last game. Okay. All right. Now let's talk NFL. Let's get into the Colts and their performance on Sunday. I couldn't believe we won that game. 45 points. I couldn't believe actually no, we put up 41. I couldn't believe we put that much up. I said 41. What are we? You doing? We won that game. Believe me or not, I was shocked we put up 41 points. I thought, okay, this is gonna be a close game. And then we just kept scoring and scoring and scoring and scoring. I said, dang, we actually do have a decent team. A lot of this, and in that game, thanks to Jonathan Taylor's 3 touchdowns, I thought, there's no way we probably weren't going to do well in passing. Getting down there into the red zone, we weren't real good at, but our defense stayed strong, had a couple players go down, but the offense stayed true to the run game and the passing game, short passing game, which works for us really well. We were winning that game, and we had proven that we can win with the formations we're doing, with the play calling. It's been decent. Anything past the 50 has been decent. Anything going towards the red zone on the other side of the 50 has not been too well. We're kicking more field goals than we are scoring touchdowns. It's not bad when you're kicking field goals, but we need to get in the end zone more when we're in the red zone. We need right plays, right packages when we're down there inside of 25. That's for sure. And the AFC South has not looked real well. If we're looking at this from a standing point, the Colts are leading it by 3 games right now, which is perfect. They're winning it. They're leading by 3 games. They're 4-0 start of the year. No, 3-0. My bad. We're 3-0. 3-0. And Houston's not looked real well. The Jags have been decent. Titans look terrible. If the Colts keep playing like how they are, they might win the AFC South, and they might even be a top seed when it comes playoff time. Does that mean we're going to win the playoffs? Maybe, maybe not. But for now, they are looking really well. Houston in this fall off though has got to be very questioning to them. They're 0-3. Now, could they go all of a sudden on a run and go be 9-3 by week 13? Probably. Is it going to happen? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Jags look very solid. Main concern there I have is their offense side. They've had some struggles with the offense scoring too. Do they play well next week? Maybe. They play the Niners. Will they win it? They could or could not. Just depends. Jags have to play Mac Jones, who's a starting quarterback right now for the Niners, till Purdy's back in a couple weeks. We'll see how that game goes. It was next Sunday. Now, this is something I really want to talk about. The tush push that the Philadelphia Eagles do. It has been controversy last week and even going into this week, mainly because there has been multiple false starts. And it's a little concerning because they talked about last week, Dan Blandino, he was doing the game with Chiefs Eagles, and he's like, I don't know how to how to rule on some of these things because they false start, they get the ball, they go down, they move, and the ball the past 2 weeks, even if he's still going forward, it's been ripped out of Hurts' hands, and the rest have said, it's not a fumble, forward progress was stopped. He's still moving. Forward progress isn't stopped until he's going backwards. If he's not going backwards, it's a fumble. By rule, it's a fumble. And that happened last week. That happened this week. There's a false start last week. There's a false start this week. How are we going to keep doing this play if things keep happening? False starts, fumbles that should be fumbles. It's almost like the NFL just doesn't care about the play anymore. They're like, it's whatever. They can keep running it. We're not going to call anything that should be correct. And if they're not going to call anything that's correct, it's going to hurt teams. Because let's say they get stopped. They stop it, and guess what? Let's go, he might got it. Or, I don't think that's fumble. Oh, he didn't false start. The guards have been false starting, and you can tell when they are because they move before that ball's even getting in and snapped. Now, what do I think personally about this play? My personal thought is this isn't a football play. It's a rugby play. It's like a scrum in rugby where you line up very low, you hike the ball or whatever in rugby, and then you're trying to get the ball. You can't the line cannot push back against the offensive line because they're so low. It's almost like when they're in field goal unit or even punting, they're low and they just take out the legs of defenders. You can't push back. You can't get hands on them because they're already cutting you off at the legs. And it's hard for the defense to stop it. But the Chiefs defense have stopped it a couple times. Whether it's versus Eagles and Bills. Bills have done it too their own way. But you've been some of these teams find ways to stop it. Now, is that going to happen for every team? No, not every single team is going to stop it, and it's going to be very interesting to see how going forward will they officiate better or will they not? And it's going to be very hard. Now, another game I want to talk about that happened during that 1 o'clock hour for the NFL was Tampa Bay. That got interesting towards the end. Tampa was going to kick three with about a little under 2 minutes. Blocked. It gets blocked, returned the other way. The Jets score. They go up 27-26. It's 2-minute drill for Baker Mayfield. And Baker, let's just talk about how well Baker's played. That dude has been an absolute soldier this year. The dude has done everything from last week versus Houston, game-winning drive, game-winning touchdown drive, beats Houston, to this week, marching that ball down the field, getting it into a really good field goal range for the kicker to win it. That dude is phenomenal. I've loved Baker. Baker's game is phenomenal. His arm talent has been great. His knowledge of the pocket has been awareness as well, has been fantastic. He keeps finding ways to win these games. They're 3-0 as well. They play the Eagles this week on Sunday. Should be a good game to watch. I would watch that game if I was somebody. Now, let's talk about the Bears beating the Cowboys. What the heck's going on there in Chicago? You go 0-2, you lose Monday Night Football to start the year versus the Vikings because your offense couldn't do anything in the fourth quarter, and the defense couldn't do anything either. Then last week, you lose again to the Lions, and they blew you out. They scored like 50 plus points, and you scored barely 21. The last score came close to the end of the. Excuse me. It came close to the end of the third to start the fourth. They didn't score anything after that. And I'm like, the Lions look good. Don't get me wrong. The Lions have looked better after week one. Excuse me. They look better after week one. They have played, I think, better since week one. They can be a team that maybe gets a wild card spot. Maybe they win the division. It's up for grabs there. A very big game, too, that happened is the Packers and Browns. Packers are probably looked like one of the best teams in the NFC. They lost to the Browns yesterday, 13-10. They should have beat the absolute crap out of them. They didn't, though. They lost that game on a game-winning field goal. Their offense has gone downhill very fast. Their defense looks good. Don't get me wrong. That defense looks good. Offense, not so much. And it's going to be very hard to watch the Packers maybe for a couple weeks until they find a suitable wide receiver for that team. They got a good running back. Don't get me wrong. They got a good running back in Josh Jacobs and a good quarterback in Love. Now, can they do something with the wide receivers because they still have injuries to Watson and they lost Reed last week. They have got to use that rookie Golden more. They got to get Golden out there and let him catch the ball. Then you get him into certain packages that he can catch because their tight end is really good too. Tucker Craft, very good tight end, and they used him a lot last week versus Washington, and he had the second most receiving yards as tight end in that in the past few years as Packer. Now, they need to use him more and they need to use Matthew Golden more. If they can get both those guys working, they could have a good team. They're not, though. The offense has been very sloppy. Their defense is trying to have to make up for the sloppiness of the offense. They're trying their best to do everything. And it's going to be interesting to watch the rest of that year. Watch that team the rest of the year. Now, some big wins for some teams that hadn't won anything the first 2 weeks. Carolina gets a big win over Atlanta. They win 30-0. Didn't expect that. Falcons looked really good with the first 2 weeks. They beat Minnesota last week. Penix came out in this game and looked horrible. I mean, absolutely horrible. He threw an interception that did not look good, and it was pick six too. Carolina had a pick six. The Carolina was scoring on offense like crazy, defense as well. And I can't believe the Falcons lost that because Carolina looked very bad first 2 weeks. They weren't looking good. They weren't looking like a team that could make a push to even win a game. They won a game. Now, what can they do with that win? Can they use that win and go, all right, let's look at the rest of the season. Let's look at our games going Sunday to next week. How can we mature from this win? How do we put this win and say, let's spin it. Let's win it next week. Let's go. We're starting over. This is 1-0. Oh, every single mentality, no matter what, after this first win, it's 1-0 mindset. It's 1-0 mindset. We won our first game. We're 1-0. That's how you do it. You kind of have to go in that mindset and say, we're going to go 1-0. We're going to keep our focus on the game, and we're going to keep the mentality that we're 1-0. It's the same thing with the Bears. You're 1-0. Oh, win it. The Cowboys are going to have a little problem too. The Cowboys are going to have a problem for a couple weeks though. You're missing Lamb. CG's out for about 4 to 6 weeks. You're not going to be able to do anything. He's top wide receiver. And that's the reason they went and got Pickens to be possibly number 2. But Pickens was very frustrated. If you didn't see the video from Sunday, dude slammed his helmet on the ground. I'm very frustrated. There could be next Sunday night, because they play Sunday night Packers and Cowboys. With Lamb being out, what do? Williams is a running back for the Cowboys. He did really well week 1. If you watched Philly Cowboys in week 1, he ran really well. They've kind of used him not as much because the passing game and receiving game for the wide receivers and the quarterback have been at least decent. But they have to be able to use what they kind of did week 1 and using Williams more and maybe some play action passes, maybe get the tight end out and use him. But Pickens and Kevon Turpin have got to step up for the Cowboys, because if they don't, the Cowboys are going to be in trouble. They already are in trouble after losing to the Bears. They lost that game 34-14. 31-14. And they need to take that loss and say, okay, starting over mentality. The start over mentality for that, if you lose after winning a couple games, all right, it's 0-0. You haven't done anything. And you don't come with the 1-0 mentality. You start, all right, it's clean slate. Think of it as 0-0. We haven't won anything. We're going this game as we have to win no matter what. It's a have to win game no matter what. The Chiefs game, Chiefs-Giants, Sunday Night Football. Chiefs look like absolute dog crap. They won that game 22-6. No, 22-9. Fine. But they look horrible. Kelsey isn't looking good. He's not catching that. He's not having a really good game. Mahomes is having to do checkdowns every single time. Excuse me. And Mahomes is doing something stupid. Like, I watched the game, and it's like he's just randomly throwing the ball sideways to Pacheco, who's not even looking at the ball twice, or was looking at the ball once. It could have been illegal forward pass, but he's throwing it backwards still. But you're watching and you're going, is this the same guy who won 3 Super Bowls? Or is this some other dude? Because he does not look good. Not good whatsoever. And exact same thing with Russell Wilson. Wilson has looked horrible, and I mean horrible the first 3 weeks. I know he has all these passing yards and everything, but they should have beat the Cowboys the previous week. They didn't. So they're sitting at 0 they're sitting at 0-3 this week, and Russ has he did have the first 2 weeks the most passing yards, but he's not getting the wins. And he's not, and it's hurting the team a little bit because the fans last night, when there was an injury timeout for Brian Burt's, they were chanting they wanted Dart. If Jackson Dart gets to be the starter, maybe this week, maybe something happens. Maybe they get their first win this week. Maybe. Just maybe. But that's the biggest maybe ever. But the fans are already pulling away from Russell Wilson. They don't want Russ. I think some of the fans were a little questionable when they signed Russ as well, because they signed Jameis Winston and then they signed Russ before the draft. And they're like, okay, we're not going to take a quarterback. Then the Giants trade up in this year's past draft to get Jackson Dart. And it's like, okay, so we signed Jameis and we signed Russell. So we draft Jackson Dart. Is Dart going to get starts this year? They haven't really said if he will or not. They said it's a maybe. It's a maybe. But there's a big chance that he could start this week for the Giants if Russ does not do anything the first half. If they don't score a touchdown or anything the first half of this game, don't be surprised if Jackson Dart goes in or even James Winston. One of the two is going to go in. If it's not Dart starting, it's him coming in and starting the rest of the game. And then Dabble make a decision after the game saying, we're going to start Dart. And going back to that Falcons game as well, Raheem, I'm going to get his last name wrong, but the Falcons head coach, it's Raheem something. I forget his last name. And he was asked a question after Penix's abysmal performance on Sunday, asking if there would be quarterback competition between him and Kirk Cousins. And he automatically said no. And it's like, okay, I get Penix played decent the first 2 weeks, but I would at least give Kirk Cousins a quarterback competition with how bad Penix played this game. Because that should have been an easy game for them to win. It was not, though. I would have at least give Kirk Cousins a chance saying, all right, we'll give quarterback competition this week. Whoever plays best with the ones, performs well with the ones, starts this Sunday. It might be Penix or it could be Kirk. But they're going to roll with Penix for the rest of the year, maybe. Or until they come down. Arthur Blank comes down from his office and tells the head coach, you either start Cousins or figure out how to do everything right with Penix, because this should not have happened. We should not lost this game 30-0 to the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers suck. They're not a great team. They're not really organized, but that loss as well can start fire underneath the Falcons as well, and maybe Penix plays better next week. As well as they got a new kicker start after last week, Parker Romo. He went 5 for 5 week 2, and then went 0-2 in week 3. Maybe they should have kept cooing him around and have kicking competitions to figure out who was going to play the rest of the year. They really, because you can look good on your resume by saying, all right, here's a pre-kick. Like week 2, I kicked all these field goals because the offense didn't really score a touchdown until late. And I kicked 5 field goals. I should be good the rest of the year. I go 0-2 the next game. It's like, ooh. Okay, how are we gonna figure out a kicker situation? Because they're probably gonna bring another kicker to compete with Romo, but they should have kept Young Ho Koo and have him still compete a little bit. Give him a little edge. They didn't do that. So now he's cut. He got cut on Tuesday last week, and he's a free agent still. No one's picked him up yet. Very interesting on that. So yeah. Now tonight, Monday Night Football. Lions, Ravens. Who's gonna win tonight? Really good teams playing tonight. Top playmakers for both sides. You got Henry, Lamar, Hopkins, Zay Flowers for the Ravens. You got Goff, Gibbs, St. Brown. The rookie Tesla has been amazing. He's caught some crazy catches. Be mindful of him. And then Williams as well, wideout. Watch out for those guys in this game tonight. It's going to be a great game. I'm giving the Ravens the win here. They have a really good wide receiver core. They have a very good defense as well. I know last week the Lions got praised for defensive performance versus the Bears. The Bears looked really bad versus the Lions defense, but I don't think the Ravens will have problems with the Lions defense. It's kind of it's kind you got a new defense corner, new offensive corner for the Lions after Johnson went to the Bears and Glenn, the defense coordinator, went to the Jets. And the new defense coordinator, he's done pretty well. Second week one was not good. Week two was better. How is he going to make the defensive performance versus the Ravens better? It's going to depend on how the defense is going to perform because defense could look really good the first half and then the second half all of a sudden look like crap. That's happened before in teams, or looked really bad the first half and looked really good the second half. It's called adjustments. You make adjustments throughout the game. You go from a certain zone coverage, maybe even shell L coverage, go to a nickel coverage, or you go man with zone coverage in the back end. Just depending on how you're going to do stuff. Now, Thursday night football this week is going to be very interesting. I'll talk about that because I won't do another episode until next week, possibly. So Thursday night football is Seattle, Arizona. Should be a good game to watch. Seattle might get the win. Arizona lost James Conner in the game on Sunday, so there's a big chance they might be without they are going to be without the star running back because he tore his Achilles. He's done for the year. They won't see him again. Uh, Monday night, not Sunday night next week. It was Sunday morning, more like what I should say. My problem, my fault. Is Minnesota Pittsburgh? They're going to be in Dublin, and that's the first national game of the year. International game is more, I should say, and they'll be in Dublin, Ireland, and that'll be a game to watch if you love watching these games that are played over there in London, Dublin, Spain, and Germany. No, not Spain, Germany, just Germany. You'll be watching some great games there. Sunday night football will be a great game too. Like I said, it's Green Bay, Dallas. It should be a good game to watch. My Colts will be playing the Rams at 4:05 that day. The 1 o'clock slate should be a good slate to watch as well. Well, if you really love football, NFL, you'll have the Packers. Like I said, Packers and no, not Packers, Bucks and Philly playing at 1. That should be the main game to watch at 1 o'clock because both 3-0. It's going to determine who's actually got the better offense and who's got the better defense. There's still some questions about Philly and their offense, and I would say defense a little bit too. But Tampa should be the team to win that game if they're going to play well. Now, college football slate for this weekend, you got some good games. Games at noon. Arkansas Notre Dame should be I think the best noon game to watch if you want to watch a good one. The other one could be Illinois USC, and at 3:30, I think the best game to watch at 3:30 that week should be between LSU and Ole Miss. Should be the best game to watch. You get to watch Ole Miss play in LSU. It's a good kind of rivalry between the two because they both are not that. Got LSU over in Louisiana and Ole Miss in Mississippi. 2 states away. Always a good rivalry. Always a good team to watch. And it should be very entertaining. I don't know who's going to win that game. LSU could win or Ole Miss could win. Just depending on who's ready to play and who's going to come out on top. Indiana plays Iowa at 3:30. Should be a good game to watch. Indiana might steamroll Iowa, just depending on how the first half starts. Now, 7:30 slate is going to have 2 good games to watch. 2 important games to watch. Oregon and Penn State should be the number 1 game to watch no matter what. It's going to be number 6 versus number 2. Oregon 6, Penn State's 2. Oregon could win that game, or Penn State could win that game. It's depending on whose defense steps up. Because Oregon is considered probably the most dynamic offense right now. They have been firing on all cylinders. Like last week, they beat the crap out of Oregon State real badly. They might do that to Penn State's defense. I know it's a whiteout game for Penn State. Penn State fans go wild for the whiteout games. Don't know how well it's going to be. Then the second game, if you don't care for Oregon Penn State, watch Bama and Georgia. Should be a good game. Bama Georgia probably one of the biggest considered rivalries the past couple years because of them meeting multiple times in the national championship, SEC championship. Whoever wins this game could do really well the rest of the year. Bama has a young a kind of a young quarterback. It's his first official starting year. Ty Simpson, he looks really good. Gunnar Stockton is main quarterback for Georgia. He looks decent as well. They both will probably have to go against really good teams the rest of the year too. Bama has gone against Florida State. They've lost to them. Georgia hasn't lost to a team. They almost lost to Tennessee. If Tennessee would have kicked that game winner 2 weeks ago in week two, week 3 actually, yeah, it was week 3. You could see a different. Georgia might not be top 5. They might barely be top 10, mainly because Tennessee was really good. Good to start the game. Then towards the end, they kind of slowed down. They kind of were doing well. They kind of weren't. It was kind of back and forth. But those 2 games should be your night games to watch, and that should be how you watch this weekend. Now, Monday Night Football and everything else, I'll talk about next week, maybe, on how those games go. But for now, that is how I will be doing everything. I'll be talking college football, NFL, and a little bit of the faith as well. I think before I end here in a couple seconds, I will check to see something real fast. Right, nothing. All right, I will end this on a prayer, and I will be done. So thank you, Jesus, for allowing me to do this today. This will be hopefully a thing that I will keep doing for a couple more maybe years, maybe just depending on how much longer I would love to do this. But I thank you, Lord, for allowing me to do this and allowing me to use this platform to do this, Lord. I thank you for allowing me to do this. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.